to you. The webinars are recorded and shared as segments that allow you to learn about these products and services in a convenient way for you in 15-minute bites. The links are shared with everyone who registered, and they'll be posted to the WiLS website as well in several places, including on our Taco Tuesday page and on the individual vendor pages. During the presentations today, there will be a little bit of technical magic as we switch between presenters, so bear with us during those transitions. Also, if you've dialed in on a phone but did not enter an audio pin, please make sure your phone is muted during our vendor presentations to avoid any audio. Hold on, my slides are not working. There we go. Today's lineup will feature the following special guest presenters. You'll hear from each of them for about 10-ish minutes, and then there will be some time following each presentation for questions and answers. You're welcome to unmute yourself and do that just over the audio, or to type them in over the chat, and we will do our best to get those to the presenters. So today we welcome from 11:30 to 11:45 Alex Gardner from World Trade Press. Following that, at 11:45, we'll have Jocelyn Dunlop from Backstage Library Works. At 12 o'clock, we will have Dave Hughes from Primal Pictures, and at 12:15, we'll have Jim Jacobson from EBSCO. Thanks to all of our presenters for taking the time to share with us today. And with that, we can go ahead and get started with Alex from World Trade Press.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. As I was explaining Andy and Sarah yesterday, this is kind of my maiden voyage with GoToMeeting. So hopefully everything goes well with this. So for now, I will go ahead and initiate the demonstration of our American culinary resource, AtoZ Food America. I'll be speaking about this for hopefully about 10 minutes. I'll do a quick mention of our global cuisine product, and then hopefully have some time for 1 or 2 questions at the end. So for now, this is our database, AtoZ Food America, which hopefully you're seeing on your screen right now. We have today's featured state of Illinois. And what this is AtoZ Food America. This is our database, which consists of 50 different state cookbooks, as well as 6 different regional cookbooks for the country that are interactive, and they consist of traditional cuisine options for each state and region. You also have the ability to browse the culinary heritage of America via 33 different ethnic groups, as well as a collection of historical documents under the historical section. But for now, I thought we would just kind of go in and take a look at the Browse by State category. So if we click on Browse by State, and then via either the map or the list on the right, if we were to click on the state of Wisconsin, you can see here that we have a Wisconsin food culture and recipes page. I'm just going to briefly highlight each section. Hopefully there will be a lot more time for you guys to look through this on your own accord. But here we have Wisconsin food culture and recipes, beginning with the cuisine overview section. We also have a classic dishes menu. This is a hyperlinked menu of a few of the many dishes associated with the state of Wisconsin. We are certainly, this is something that we launched back in May, so we're certainly open to further suggestions that should be in the sampler menu as we go. We have a suggestion or issue box for you to be able to input some recipes that you feel may be missing or omitted from the classic dishes. We also have a state foods top agricultural products page, and we also have a farmers market section. The farmers market directory is very popular with public librarians because you can actually enter in your zip code. You can do a search by a radius of mileage, and then you can do, you can see basically all of the different farmers markets that are in your local area. This is information populated from the USDA's local food directories website. So we have farmers market information. We also have a Did You Know section, which consists essentially of some more trivia information about Wisconsin and food culture. You can see, for example, that the first ice cream sundae was created in Two Rivers back in 1881 by Ed Bernard. So some new information. If you didn't already know that, you learned something new today. And then we also have a recipe section. This is kind of the most important component to the product because this is your traditional cookbook of Wisconsin cuisine. It encompasses 8 different sections of recipes, beginning with appetizers, going down into soups, salads, breads, main courses, side dishes, desserts, and snacks. And to give you an example, I'm going to go ahead and click on the recipe here for main courses. And if we scrolled and looked at the beef Lombardi dish, I'll just kind of use this as an example of one of the recipe entries. So here we have beef Lombardi. You have kind of a general summary of the dish on top. You've got a nice enlargeable image over on the right. You've got some nice animated preparation and cook time graphics. You've also got your dietary options beneath that. So if a particular dish corresponds to a vegetarian or say vegan dietary restriction, you'll see the corresponding box checked off. You can also click on the little question mark and it'll tell you a little bit more about the dietary option or restriction. You've got your ingredients laid out with the corresponding boxes on the left, which you can use as a checklist as your patrons collect the ingredients either at the store or assemble them on the counter at home. You've also got the directions for how to prepare and serve the beef Lombardi dish. And you can also highlight each direction, which is a popular component. That way you can kind of check off the directions step by step as your patrons go through the process of making the dish. You've also got a couple of other components here. You've got the share tab. This gives you a form that you can use to email the recipe listing out to a friend or a relative, maybe somebody outside of your patron community. You've also got the ability to print, so it gives you print-friendly option here to print out the beef Lombardi recipe. And as you can see with the ingredient, each one of these ingredients is hyperlinked. So if you click, for example, on Parmesan for Parmesan cheese, it'll open up an ingredient within an ingredient article within the category list. So you can see an article here for Parmesan. Goes into varieties, flavor and nutrient profile, preparation information, seasonal availability. It then also gives you a scrollable menu so that you can see some of the other dishes that we have throughout the database, which list Parmesan as an active ingredient for some of these different dishes. One other thing that I wanted to point out in terms of the ability to search by recipe, you've also got a search component, which if you click on advanced search, you'll notice that you can search by state for a number of different dishes. If you're trying to compose a menu for a family dinner and you want to search for recipes by state, region, ethnic group, course, dietary restrictions, you can do that here. Then I will go ahead and click on the banner at the top left for AtoZ Food America. It'll bring us back to our homepage. And I'll take you briefly through the ethnic group section. We have 33 different ethnic groups encompassed in this section here. So if we click on ethnic group, you'll have the ability to explore recipes and food culture by US ethnic group. So if I go down the list here and go, say, to the Polish American cuisine profile, you'll see here that we have a cuisine overview section, which kind of provides you with information on native Polish cooking, bridging into Polish American cuisine. You've also got a classic dishes list, historical timeline, which goes into information on Polish immigration, migration to America, and how that bridges into influence on American cooking. Works really well with the following article here on influence on American cuisine and most notable foods. You've got a special occasion food section here, which provides you with some holiday and celebratory traditions. A Did You Know section. And then you've got the same encompassed cookbook here for Polish American cooking, 8 different categories from appetizers down to snacks. And so you can see how some of these different recipe options are detailed throughout the product. Here you have your summary, preparation and cook time graphics, dietary options, share and print, ingredients and directions, everything that we had looked at prior to that in the Wisconsin cookbook. Another thing that I wanted to highlight for you is if you click on the site menu tab and then go to the historical section, this gives you a historical section where you can look at different facets and a wealth of different topics into America's culinary heritage. For example, you have a cookbook category with historic cookbooks. And these are over 90 historic American cookbooks here, which can be viewed and downloaded in PDF format. Another way of kind of avoiding hunting for print material is that you can download each one of these as an electronic resource, more than 90 cookbooks published prior to 1925. Some of these date back to the late 1700s, so you can kind of get a sense here for the titles and how those associate with the era in which they were published. You've also got a TV commercial section. This component here encompasses more than 3,200 vintage television commercials that offers your patrons a window into advertising so that they can see how product placement, advertising methodologies, and social norms have changed over time. You can see here, for example, under soft drinks that we have an ad for Coca-Cola, a vintage ad from 1950. You also have a What Did They Eat section, which provides you with a number of historical articles, categories for that. And we start that off with the US President section. So here you have articles detailing all 45 presidents of the United States. For example, if I were to click on our second president, John Adams, you can see some information here about kind of a brief summation about his work as a diplomat and statesman, food and drink habits, mealtime customs. Apparently he liked to greet each day with a quarter pint of hard cider on an empty stomach to promote health and vitality, information on his days as a boarding student at Harvard College, a couple of nice portrait paintings here of the president and the first lady. And I know that I am crunched for time, so I will just kind of show you one other component to the product. If we go to the site menu and click on the reference section, you can see here that we have a section on food reference topics. And if you were to click on the How Food is Made section, you can see that we have a number of video tutorials here for cooking techniques. If you're a novice in the kitchen and you need to learn about some of these different cooking techniques, you have a wealth of videos. Each one has a runtime of about 45 to 90 seconds, generally less than 2 minutes long. You can see a transcript, and then you can see a video, for example, for how to blanch. Gives you a short tutorial here on cooking techniques. And some of these other categories here are devoted to videos on food preparation, making sauces like a béarnaise or a pesto sauce, and egg preparation. And so in closing, I just wanted to mention that this is AtoZ Food America. This is a product that we have developed and created so that libraries can supplement their existing cookbook section and replace print material in favor of a digital resource. It would allow your libraries to be able to offset the cost of print material. And if you have local cooking club members, chef enthusiasts, students doing culinary projects for their classes, it's a good way to be able to have a resource to promote and market to them. So That's kind of the database here in a brief summation, and I will leave it up to questions at this point.
Thanks, Alex. Anybody have questions? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or ask over chat. And we'll give you a minute or two to do that. All right, seeing no questions. I just lost my thing here. Thanks so much, Alex. Really appreciate it. And we will share out the recordings and the slides here. So there'll be contact information with that too as well. And we can move on to Jocelyn Dunlop from Backstage Library Works. Sorry you're not getting the prettiest view on my slides here, but something has happened. I'm going to go ahead and make Jocelyn a presenter. We have lost Jocelyn. Jocelyn,
I should be. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, this is Jocelyn.
There we are.
I'll ask if I can share my screen with you.
I found it. You were hiding.
Okay, great. All right, can everyone see that? I think so, based on the audience view.
We can see it. Thanks so much, Jocelyn.
All right, yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Andrew, for organizing this and allowing Backstage to come and talk. My name is Jocelyn. I'm the Midwest representative for Backstage Library Works. So I cover Wisconsin, but I'm actually based in Minneapolis. And we're really fortunate to be a discount partner with WiLS. So I'll talk about that at the end after I've kind of given an overview of all of the Backstage services. My email is here on this page, and then I'll also have it at the end in case you have questions. So Backstage Library Works, we are a library services company that provides a pretty wide range of technical services and preservation, digitization, other types of project support. So sometimes libraries will know us for one service and not others, which is, this is a great opportunity for me to get to talk about all of our programs. So we have two offices. One is in, and I'm trying to switch to the next slide if that works. Okay, great. We have two offices. One is in Provo, Utah, and the other one is in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And the two offices are kind of delineated based on tech services versus more of the digitization and preservation. So I'll start with the Provo office since it falls more into cataloging and automation. And that is where the company was founded. So our cataloging services are really robust. That includes traditional cataloging, but also different types of non-mark cataloging. So we can work in Dublin Core or any type of XML schema or digital images or any type of archival collection that a library might have. You'll also hear me talk a lot about projects. So we do work more on a project basis than a subscription basis. Most of the projects that come across our desk are like a donation or a backlog or maybe a special collection rather than sending, the same box of books every single month, something like that. And within metadata, any type of data manipulation that needs done, we can help with. So whether it's copy cataloging all the way up to full cataloging, we have a pretty wide range of capabilities. We are also pretty well known for our automation services, primarily authority control. And we actually do have a few Wisconsin authority control customers already. And with authority control, we do a one-time cleanup where we take the entire database and match it against whatever thesauri you prefer, usually Library of Congress, but we can also do MESH or AAT, things like that, to bring the records up to standards as far as the subjects and names are concerned. And then we have ongoing services that help maintain the clean data after we have fixed it. And we can also add different optional enrichments. So one of those is RDA enrichment in case we are bringing the records up to more of a current standard. And we can also add URI enrichment, which I don't know if I have that on these slides, but that is also something we can do if you're interested in incorporating more linked data into your MARC records. Then as far as, other types of enrichments that are kind of separate from authority control, we can also do the accelerated reader and Lexile reading levels. That tends to be popular with public libraries that might have schools on their catalog. And then we can also assist with table of contents enrichment, which tends to be more of an academic focused service. In relation to data cleanup, we can do a lot of different custom things to address problems you might have, whether it's in MARC records or in other types of records. And that can be deduplication, which we have even done deduplication of EAD finding aids, or that could be maybe upgrading a record from something that's brief and missing key data points like OCLC numbers or subject headings and making that more of a full record. So, if you ever have data questions, we want to be the vendor you think of when you have a cleanup project. The last component of our Provo office and kind of related to technical services, but maybe more of a collection management side of things, it is the ability to come on site for any services. So this historically has been RFID tagging. I think that is one of our most popular on-site services. We don't actually sell the tags or the software and equipment for RFID. You would still use a vendor like Biblioteca or Envisionware, but we can do the actual physical tagging for you. And we partner with all of those vendors, all of the major vendors in the US to implement RFID. And then, or barcodes, if that was also something you wanted. We can also do inventory projects. These are more and more common for us lately, where libraries want us to reconcile what's on the shelf with what is in the catalog. And, maybe if a book is on the shelf, but there's no record in the catalog, we can do brief, records just to make sure there's a connection. And, there are also a lot of instances where items are in the catalog, but not on the shelf. So we can reconcile all of that and at the same time do things like weeding or cleaning or any other type of, service that would require one hand on every book. And that also applies to, sorry, just drinking some water. That also applies to physical reclassification. So reclassification we most often see for academic libraries, I would say, that are moving from Dewey to Library of Congress classification. We have had a few public libraries that were interested in moving from Dewey to more of a BISAC model, the bookstore classification. So essentially we can manipulate all the data to change the call numbers, and then we can also physically reorganize the collection. So yeah, now I'll kind of transition to talking about our Bethlehem, Pennsylvania office, because this is where a lot of our digitization and preservation work happens. We specialize in working with fragile materials, archival materials, special collections, things that need more careful handling and are maybe, one of a kind to your library, local history collections, and things that maybe you could do it in-house, but you want, really high quality images that are going to last a long time, and the careful handling is key. So we use a overhead array camera for all of our digitization, and we can work with any type of 2D or print or photographic material. So in this picture, you see the bound volume, but we can also work with photo negatives or large maps, blueprints, even, very small items, as well as, anything that is transparent like microfilm or microfiche. And we follow the FADGI standards, and we kind of have a scale of how FADGI something can be. So, essentially the specifications can be really, really nuanced and high quality with very high PPI, or they can just be kind of your standard JPEG that you might need for access online. And then related to digitization is our preservation microfilm services. These two departments at our company are about the same size, actually, which sometimes surprises people because I think there is a conception that microfilm is decreasing, which is definitely true. But as a preservation medium, microfilm does last 500 years, a polyester reel. So there's a lot of value in having brittle newspapers or things that are going to physically degrade on microfilm, just as a preservation backup. And we can convert both between digitization and microfilm. So we can digitize microfilm reels, and we can also write digital images onto microfilm. So those two services kind of come up together a lot. In addition to filming for microfilm, which is usually newspapers or manuscripts, we can also duplicate existing reels, store existing reels for you. We can also, repair reels, maybe if you need some splicing or if you have tears, things like that. So, we really want to help libraries manage their microfilm collections, because I know that it is kind of a difficult material to work with, but we know that there's value there. So we also have a slide here about our guarantees. So we have a 100% lifetime guarantee on all of our services. So if you ever found an issue, we'll always fix it for you. And we also have really high employment standards. Everyone at Backstage, unless they want to be part-time, everyone is full-time with benefits. And we also do tuition reimbursement for MLIS. So I think it's just important for libraries to know that, we are also a part of that community and that we support, our employees becoming librarians. And then the last point I'll talk about is the discount. So that's what we're all here for, right? So we do offer a 5% discount to all WiLS members. We don't necessarily check this or, I guess, remember this. So do make sure you remind us when you request a quote, like to add the WiLS discount in. Otherwise, I may forget. And this is for all new projects that you might have questions about. So I am the contact for all of your quoting needs or questions that you might have about our services. We have really detailed questionnaires for every single service that profile all of your specifications and determine, exactly what level of service you need, if you have a certain budget, a certain deadline, if this is for a grant, things like that. And from the point of a quote, we can also make tweaks, to suggest ways to save money or suggest ways to do things faster. So, the first quote does not have to be the end all be all. We're always happy to make revisions, and I work with you on all of those steps. So you can always reach out to me. And after the point that a project does sign, that is when we assign you to a dedicated project manager. So every department has a few project managers who are specialists in exactly what they do. And they would be your point person when we're actually in production. And they send weekly updates that are really great because they let you know, how far along we are in the timeline, or, if any issues have come up. Like sometimes, maybe a box arrives, from a book vendor with water damage or something. And so we handle all of those claims for you. So we might make a note in the weekly update that, we're working on replacing some items for you or something. So we're always happy to create different custom solutions for you and answer your questions. So you can feel free to reach out to me. My email is here. And then we also made this custom link that I believe will take you to our webinar that we're having later this week. I should really know this, but if you follow this link, it will take you to the exact information about a webinar that we are having about some maps that we digitized. And then it's a very interesting project with the New York Historical Society, where we also took geolocation codes for each of those maps and embedded them into the images so that eventually users can look at the map and click on the geolocation code, and it would open Google Maps to show them exactly where that map is located, you know, in the real world now. So if you follow that link, you will get more information about that webinar this week if you're interested. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jocelyn. Really appreciate it. Great information. Thank you for sharing with us. In the interest of time, I think I'm going to skip Q&A so we can move on to our next presenter, but you have Jocelyn's contact information there. Feel free to reach out to her or to us here at coop@wils.org if you have any questions, and we'll make sure we can relay those questions to Jocelyn. Thanks so much, Jocelyn. Having a couple of technical difficulties. Here we go. All right, great. Thanks for your patience. All right. Yeah, so now we're going to move into a presentation with Primal Pictures with Dave Hughes. I'm going to turn the presentation over to him, and he can take it away. There you go, Dave. Dave, I'm not sure we're able to hear you. We see your screen, but I can't hear anything. Are you able to?
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Now we've got it.
Oh, perfect. Sorry about that. And you can see my screen as well.
I can. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, well, look, thank you everybody so much for this opportunity. I am Dave Hughes. I'm a product specialist here at Primal Pictures. And I will be taking you through a couple of products today, showing you essentially what we can provide at Primal Pictures. But first off, we were essentially the first company to be doing exclusively digital human anatomy content. We've been around for 28 years. We have a model that is built using real scan data. We're very proud to have the most accurate anatomical model available on the market. And we essentially create products which are for the K-12 and higher education market to teach anatomy and physiology. Our products essentially appeal, they enable the faculty to teach more effectively, as well as enhancing student experience with a whole variety of tools. Now, in terms of our content, we have content that covers gross anatomy, things like our Atlas, which take a very much a Gray's Anatomy approach to anatomy. We also have biomechanics in our functional anatomy products, imaging content, as well as a number of clinical specialties, including disease and conditions, dentistry, speech language pathology, pelvic floor disorders, really a whole range of content. But for today, and to make sure I don't run over my time, I'm going to focus on 3 of our products. Anatomy and physiology is first up. Now, this is by far and away the most popular product in the K-12 space. The approach of the product reflects that of a textbook. So if you have a nursing course, access to medicine, anything like that, or if you are a higher education institution providing medical school courses, nursing, sports science, anything like that, anything where anatomy and physiology is required, then this is going to be a great product. So just to show off this, I'm going to start by looking at the cardiovascular system, and this should give you a good overview of what this product provides. Now, as I mentioned, this is laid out like a textbook. So on the right, we have learning objectives, and they'll move through all of the different topics that we cover. So essentially, faculty again will know what the students will get out of this, and students coming into this product will have a really clear idea of what they're going to get out of the following piece of text and image content. Then we move down and we get the actual text that again is similar to that you would find in a textbook. In the center, you have our viewing panel. So this is where we display our content, our anatomy content. We pride ourselves on being highly interactive. Everything is labeled, everything is interactive. It's a fantastic opportunity for students to essentially engage with this kind of learning, and also it's an opportunity for faculty to again, engage students with content that otherwise can be a little overwhelming. Now, on the left-hand side, you can see these topics. These are much like chapters in that textbook, and I'm going to jump down to the conduction system for the purposes of this. Now, as a student, you can be guided to this content. So if you have classes coming up where you will be, for example, looking at the conduction system, again, in the context of maybe a nursing course or something like that, you can start at algorithmic cells and you can read down. You can click on the images. They would change this viewing panel to display, in this case, the sinoatrial node, which is being discussed. And the idea is that students will have these images to reinforce the text that they're learning, and then they can interact with these images to see, in this case, certainly the effect of the conducting system on the heart. They can move down. At the end of each section, there is an interactive learning activity. And again, in our experience, especially at that K-12 level where they're going to be introduced to these topics and they can be overwhelming, these interactive learning activities break up the text, and they also allow students to essentially self-actualize. They can come to a realization about their own learning. Have they understood the previous section, or perhaps they need to go back and reread? And these can be in the form of quizzes, color and label exercises, clicker structure. In this case, it is a clicker structure. But we also look at mixed media. We recognize, obviously, at Primal that not everybody learns in the same way, and so we have animations that can be played. We have interactive exercises, we have slides, all kinds of different content to appeal to different audiences. Now, in terms of tools for actually using this content in different ways, we enable the faculty by allowing them to essentially download all of our content. So for example, if they're putting together a PowerPoint or something like that, they can take this content and they can enrich their PowerPoints. And as long as you have an active subscription to Primal Pictures, from a copyright perspective, you're entirely covered. Likewise, if a student is writing a paper and they want to illustrate the point they're making with really powerful dynamic graphics, then they can take our content and enrich the papers that they're writing. We have guidance tools here. So again, I mentioned earlier, if a student is guided to this content, well, this is how the faculty can do it. It's a simple process of just clicking the copy link button. The link's copied to the clipboard, and then that can either be sent to the students via email, on Word documents. If you're running a learning management system like Canvas, Moodle, Blackboard, or one of the many others on the market, you can put it in there. And then also with Primal, on the topic of learning management systems, we actually have an embed function. So we recognize that institutions often want to keep students in their own environment, quite rightly, because that gives the educators the opportunity to write the text that is going to be important, maybe about a clinical condition or a learning outcome or something like that. And with this embeddable viewer, the faculty are able to actually take all of our interactive content and put it into your own environment. So there's not even need for students to come out and go into a separate environment, taking them away from whatever text the lecturer may have written. There are a whole range of other features here. We have case studies, which again can be looked at. They're clinically led, very concise case studies, which can be used by the faculty either from a copy-paste point of view as a time-saving exercise, and they can write their own questions, or we have questions pre-written with ideal answers as well. So students can use this as a self-testing, as a self-assessment tool. In terms of here, we have quizzes. We have a whole range of content in the AMP product, which is going to help that whole workflow. Now, coming out of this, I'm actually going to jump into our PALMS product. Now, PALMS are our perceptual and adaptive learning modules, and essentially, often folks learn the anatomy using flashcards. That's a very common tool, again, across K-12 and higher ed. And palms are essentially like the most interactive, intelligent flashcards that you'll see on the market. They essentially allow students to, in their own time, off campus, on campus, take tests where they are identifying structures, and they can move through. And what the Palms product will do is it'll create a profile for each student. It'll understand what they do well, what they don't do well, and it will retest them specifically on those areas that they don't know while showing structures from different angles. And that overcomes one of the main issues with flashcards. As fantastic a resource as they are, sometimes students can learn the image rather than the structure that's being taught if they're looking at the same image, whereas we show that structure from different angles. There's a whole range of reporting tools in this, so faculty can actually get an overview of how students are progressing in their learning. For example, if a student is particularly struggling on structure, then that'll give a heads up to the teacher, and they can go back and they can actually address that with the student in particular. In fact, we had one Australian professor come along and say that the Palms modules help them to stop students from falling through the gaps, which I thought was a fantastic kind of illustration of the power of the tool. Then we have our real-time product. This is the last product I'll show you. I know I'm coming up towards time, but real-time is a fantastic product for learning gross anatomy. So again, where you have a nursing course or something like that, access to nursing, access to medicine, in that K-12 space or in the higher education space where knowledge of anatomy is absolutely essential, this tool allows you to get that gross anatomy understanding. It's very dynamic, it's very interactive. You can rotate the anatomy at any angle. You can zoom into any level of detail, and you can create some really dynamic images very, very quickly. We can add the muscles. You can see everything is labeled. You can select a structure, see the text, and again, get that learning outcome. There are a whole range of advanced features with this product as well. So you can ghost out structures and see other structures sitting behind that in greater context. You can remove them entirely. And so if you start to add in the arteries and the veins and the nervous system, you can perform that virtual dissection almost, giving students a really great understanding of the anatomy that they're learning. Again, the tools here range from being able to take a snapshot image, so that can be used to enrich PowerPoints, but we also have the ability to add labels to this content. So if a lecturer is looking to create a custom image with exactly those structures that are going to be most powerful, you can see I'm adding labels here. The educator can actually edit those labels so they read ABC. That can be printed out, given to the students as an exam piece. And then finally, a very common learning device is the coloring book, and we have a feature in here that allows for custom creation of coloring materials. So again, you can include only those structures which are going to be relevant for the students' learning, and then create a coloring exercise that they can go and do. That encourages engagement. It also really, really increases understanding. And I think with that, I'm probably coming up against time, and I'd really like to open it up to the room to any questions that there may be. And once again, thank you so much for your time. I hope that was clear.
Thanks, Dave. That was great. Really appreciate it. Does anybody have questions for Dave?
Just to add, from an access point of view, this can be accessed, this is obviously online based, so it can be accessed on campus and off campus.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great, hearing no questions.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. We will share your contact information out and
perfect.
slide the recording and the slides as well.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you. And moving on to our very last presenter today, we have Jim Jacobson from EBSCO, and I'm going to make him a presenter so he can take it away. There you go, Jim.
I am unmuted now. Can everybody see my screen?
Can hear you, but we cannot see your screen.
Okay, let me try to share again.
Now we can.
How is that? So the first slide is up?
Yep, we've got it.
Excellent. Yeah, I tried to go full screen, but it wasn't letting me, so I'll just go with this. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time today. I'm your regional sales manager from EBSCO, so I'm kind of your local guy for the K-12 and public libraries. Jay Hess is your counterpart for academics, and we both have account executives that can help you also. So many of you might have talked with Andrea Mayer, who's mine in the past. What I'm going to be presenting today is our discovery service, which really helps give you the ability to unlock a lot of the resources that you might not be able to share with a lot of folks because they either don't know the interface. A lot of people don't consider themselves researchers when they're looking for new dishwashers or such. So what we want to do is not just put people in front of computers, but help them really use the technology that's available to them to better understand what's available at their libraries and media centers. We also want to protect people from fake news. You've got a lot of great information, actually over 60 different databases just available through the state and Badger link alone. So how do you unlock that power and then also get better usage of this great information? So when we're looking at it, Morton Grove had a great thing about fake news as far as how to find out better accuracy, you know, authorship, organization, points of view, and timeliness. So from that standpoint, that's really what we try to do with our discovery service. We try to empower patrons, teachers, and students to really keep up on the resources that change and grow, whether they're at home or also in their media centers and libraries. We also want to, is this hat in the way? No, maybe I just see it on my screen. We also want to be innovative. As this digital information changes, we want to be able to provide that. What a lot of people are used to are discovery layers, or sometimes their catalog will offer some search options. That really is federated searching. And what most people find is federated searching, because you can only use a couple databases and the technology being over 20 years old, doesn't give you the ability to really find relevant information in a timely manner. So the facets are limited, it's slow. Sometimes the results that you get back are a little confusing. So with that type of thing, we really wanted to bring to market a different type of product where it's very Google-like in its usage, and it gives you the ability to actually look up and find the information in a number of different databases and resources all in one spot. So when you're looking at different databases, you have different interfaces, you have different ways of getting to that information. We wanted to use an index oriented, full of rich metadata to be able to pull up that information and give the user the best results right away in a format and an interface that's very easy for them to understand and something that didn't take a lot of training. So that's what we're able to do. We can pull together a number of different databases all into one experience. And people that have actually invested in EDS say that it just makes a lot of sense. Sometimes it's overwhelming, the number of different databases that are available. So to bring it into that comfortable format, it really unlocks the potential of the information that you have in your collections. So what EDS does is it's one index to search through, it's one interface, and the results are really fantastic in looking at the different databases. So this is the view that you would see. You can brand it yourself. You can make it on its own homepage, or you can also put it on a homepage that makes sense so that you can really get it in front of users. You can search within publications, and you can also use the advanced search to really limit down the types of information that you're looking for. These limiters look very familiar to those that understand EBSCO host or Explora. It's very similar to that. But what's really special is the fact that you can work with all of your other database providers like Gale or JSTOR or a number of others that you may have in your collection. You can also save right to the cloud in either Google Drive and Classroom for those of you that are in the K-12 market, or you can also use your personal OneDrive, save to Dropbox, or Google Drive right from that interface. We have a number of different people that are using it: Divine Savior Holy Angels in Wisconsin, Whitefish Bay. I'll be showing you a little bit of Heartland AEA, so that's what I'll be doing, kind of show. But here's some of the results that you might experience also. So the numbers speak for themselves. St. Xavier implements it at a 320% increase, and the numbers are very similar for your public libraries also. So from that standpoint, let's take a look and see exactly what EDS provides. What I'm showing here is the library and digital resource landing page for the high school at AEA, the Heartland AEA in Iowa. The AEA is very similar to like a CISA, where you have a number of different school divisions all in one thing, but this is EBSCO's EDS right there. What you'll notice is when I click in, you've got different abilities to use trending things, but what I will do is I'll just go into climate change. It also has an excellent ability to help with spelling and relevant terms. So when I hit search, this experience of going to EDS will show you what's available there. So the first thing that you notice is I can actually add additional words if I wanted to. The popular terms are right here. So maybe I'm looking more for global warming of climate change, for the effects on the environment. These popular terms are generated based on trends. You can also look specifically in publications that go right to the publication that you might be interested in. And like I mentioned earlier, there's also spelling help if you had misspelled something. The other nice thing that it does is it gives you like a wiki type experience where you can have your research starter right there. It lets you dip your toe in the water to make sure that as a researcher in a public library or a student that's looking to do a research paper, you have the ability to just make sure you're on the right track. As we look to the right-hand side of the screen, you'll notice that you have the ability to actually put different information right here, whether it be additional databases that you might want to promote or a number of hours, calendars, things like that can go on the right-hand side. We also have, they chose to suppress them a little bit, but you have videos that you can put out there. You can search additional databases. And on the left, you have your limiters. So as you notice, it starts in 1666 and goes all the way to 2020. I can adjust those, the types of information I'm looking for, and also where the databases are coming from are the ones they've chosen. But in this area, it truly is customizable, where you can pick and choose which filters you'd like in this box and the naming conventions that you use for them. But because we're using an actual metadata index, you can see how quickly the information was returned to me. If you're putting it into a school setting, you can definitely make sure that you find the magazines that you're looking for, or academic journals, or maybe newspapers. And again, like I had mentioned earlier, it truly is unlocking the potential of all of your resources that you have. So whether you're at home or at school, you have access to the different research information that you have available. So in a nutshell, it gives us a Google-like experience. Is there any type of questions that we might have out there? Hello?
And we're not seeing any questions come in over chat.
Okay. Well, we work closely with WiLS, and I look forward to talking more about it if you have some interest. But feel free to either send me a quick email. We also have discounts available because it is a customized approach. Quotes are on an on-demand basis, so we'd be happy to work with you.
Jim,
And thanks again for your time.
Come in over chat. If you can add your print collection to the search.
As long as you have MARC records on it or some way to add that metadata into the system, yes, you can add your print collection into the search results.
Thank you. Any other questions for Jim? All right, thank you so much for your time today. Jim and all of our presenters, thanks for sharing and taking the time to share with us the different products that you're offering. Really excited to put this in front of our members. Please reach out to our presenters directly, or you can reach out to us here at WiLS at coop@wils.org. And if you have any questions or if you want to connect with the presenters today, today's meeting has been recorded. We will share that out as well. We do hope to see you next month at our next edition of Taco Tuesday, which is a Taco Tuesday potluck. That's an opportunity for members to connect with one another around various issues of electronic resources in their libraries. Next month, the conversation is going to feature accessibility and electronic resources. So if you've had any struggles making sure your e-resources are accessible to all users, you can come to this session to share what you know and to learn from others in the state about what they're doing to make their web resources or e-resources more accessible. And if you have any particular expertise in this area, just let us know, and we'd like to involve you in that potluck next month. So that is January 7th at 11:30. You can read more about it or register at the link that's on the page there. Again, this will be included when we send out the recording. So with that, everybody, thank you for attending, and I hope you have a wonderful day.